Hello and welcome back to Accept the Moments. I'm your host, Joshua.
And I'm Colton. It's nice to see you guys again today. We're actually talking about a month-long trip that I had.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's an adventure.
Welcome.
We'll laugh together. We'll cry together.
We will adventure together.
We might not laugh together. We'll try. Isn't that right, Josh?
Well, you see, the problem with laughing together is that something that
funny.
we say has to be funny.
Have to be funny
exactly.
So, to give a little bit of context to this, as we both know.
Hi, I'm two people.
Hi,
I am Josh and I am Ua.
See, I'm fighting with me, myself, and I. It's like a council in here. But, anyway.
The Council of Colton.
The Council of Colton. The medication doesn't stop them from talking. It only stops them from screaming. Anyway. So, as you know, we were both in search and rescue together, and this group sent us, they would send you on, or at least they sent me on training exercises.
Yes.
You, I know, never got to do that. You were more logistical side. You just ended up staying in and doing a lot of, drill and just the basic stuff, which wasn't a fault of your own. It was a fault of funding.
Yes, it was.
And I know
It sucked.
You could probably tell your experience better than I can.
Yeah, you were always locked in a room somewhere, probably being tortured or torturing.
I was the XO. I could torture.
I will say, I noticed sometimes there were some people missing.
Yeah, it was,
from week to week, it was a different person. Yeah, I know.
I actually got, so I got to interview a few people. I was the XO of the squadron, so I was kind of the spook. And to get this position, you had to go to what was called, you had to get your lieutenant. And in order to get that, you had to go what they called an encampment. And so before this trip, this month-long adventure starts with me going to Virginia. And as a kid, late high school is when we volunteered in certain
You're still a kid in late high school. What are you talking about?
No, I wish I was a kid, dude. I'm old. But
No, I'm saying in late high school.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
We volunteered for this, and I did, I ended up just kind of hopping around. I went all over the East Coast and all over the West Coast doing different jobs, and before this encampment trip started, or before I was scheduled to go to, it was actually Fort Campbell, Kentucky, I ended up having a Virginia trip that I went on. And this was the start of the month-long journey.
Hello and welcome to Colton's month-long journey. Today we will be adventuring through the Virginias, through the East, through the West, ending
West Virginia. Anyway, copyright.
Copyrighted. Don't sue me.
West Virginia.
Anyway.
Yeah, so anyway, the start of this trip.
So your beginning of your adventure, Colton.
Yep. So where this kind of starts is as a church I no longer go to. It was part of one of their mission trips, and we were doing work kind of around the states. And in this particular job, I was going there, and we were building porches. And if you know anything about that, you kind of go for an area and you sleep for a little bit, and then you do the job and you go home. Mm-hmm. And so that took us about a week, and the church I had went with, I didn't really have a lot of great relations growing up. I had one of those experiences where it was kind of like, I got bullied a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
And even on like the church trip down there, they started, I had to pee like halfway through. And the person that was supposed to be watching everybody to make sure things were going okay literally would not tell the bus driver to pull over to let me go pee. Dude. And we had so I had to hold my bladder for like an hour straight.
Dude.
Yeah, it was bad.
That's when you go up there. You throw hands if you have to. If the bus driver doesn't stop, you just...
That's when you hang it out the window and just let it rip. It brings a whole new meaning to we, yes. Anyway, out the bus window. Anyway, so that's kind of the start of this trip, and then so I'd spent a lot of time getting bullied. They wouldn't let me go pee, and finally we ended up pulling over this gas station. Free Willy. I run in the gas station. I'm going to use the restroom, and then we get back on the road, and I'm okay again. Things happen a little bit. I'm kind of quiet in the back, because I just had to hold my bladder for an hour on the way.
Yeah, that's exhausting.
There. So I was like, whatever. Take a nap, and we finally we finally get to where we're going in Virginia, and they're like, hey, let's take a beach trip. So I get in the beach, and then I have we're hanging out there for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And basically, we get in the so I get in the water, and I end up getting chafed really badly.
Oh, son of a beach.
Oh, God. Why? So, one person... So, it was funny, because I ended up getting chafed, and then I basically went to go change.
Yeah.
And none of the bathrooms had doors on them. So... I basically...
You became a YMCA gym locker room.
Yeah, I literally... And this is out in the middle of nowhere. And what it is they basically... I don't know if, like, they didn't want kidnapping to happen or whatever, but, like, it was just... They didn't have any doors in these bathrooms, so I had to find a secluded place to go change. So I ended up going behind the bus and just kind of crouching there because it was in the back of the parking lot and hoping that nobody walked behind. Yeah, so while I was back there, I actually ended up, it was a few minutes, I just got my swim trunks off, I'm grabbing my shirt, I'm throwing my shirt on, and I'm getting ready to grab my underwear, which are right next to me, because I have my gym bag with me, right?
Right.
And so one of the girls, and I won't mention her name, we'll call her Jessie. We'll call her Jessie.
Okay.
So Jessie, she's one of my friends at the time, and she's looking for me, because I've just suddenly disappeared from the beach. And I hear her calling my name, and I hear her coming up from a distance. Like, she's still a little bit away, but she's coming close, like, coming in hot. And I'm like, shoot. You know, I a little bit of a sensor.
This was a church trip, Colton. No.
Yeah, a little bit of a sensor. Yeah, no, it was almost worse than a church trip. Like, there's misdemeanor. No. Accidental. But I'm sitting here changing.
Oh, so she is...
Yeah, like, not on part, like, she doesn't know.
Well, yeah.
And like I said, this is, like, the most private area I could find, and it's just not a bad thing to do it here, but it was kind of I could have really picked a better area. Like, it wasn't out in the open, but it was enough out in the open.
Yeah, I could have gone 3 miles away in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And
I was trying to do it quick, because I was just like, I'm using the door, I'm using the van for cover. And I hear her coming, and I'm like, crap. So I throw my shirt down, and I just start trying to pull up my underwear as quickly as I can.
Oh wait, so you are
yeah, like I'm full on, like I'm hanging free. I have no dignity whatsoever at this moment. So I'm rushing to get it up.
The cheeks are exposed. There's a crack attack. Everything.
No, it would have been a front attack.
Oh,
so yeah, I do manage to get him up. You know, like, spoiler alert, I do manage to get him up, and I get my shirt on right before she comes around the corner. So she doesn't see anything, but she realizes I'm changing and goes, "Oh, sorry," and walks away. But that was...
And it happened so fast, it's not one of those moments where you can, like, you think of, like, hey, wait.
Yeah, like, I had no time to be like, wait. I was just like, oh, crap, pull it up. And meanwhile, I'm already kind of bullied by this group, so I don't need, like, more of a reason.
Right. Oh, this was life or death, because this trip has just started.
Yeah, it's just like, this trip's already started. I'm going to be stuck with these fools for, like, a week. You know, I don't need this kind of embarrassment. And that was already kind of embarrassing. So we, after everything...
Did she mention anything, or did she keep it on the down low?
Actually, she's really cool. Okay. I talked to her for a little bit after, and we still talk every now and again today.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, she's honestly a really cool girl. But, you know, things go on. At the time, she was just, you know, everybody at that age is kind of like preppy. Nobody cares. It's dog eat dog. You know, you're not sitting there like, you know what I mean.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's like, it's high school, you know.
Yeah.
But... So, anyway, everything's said and done. Everything else that kind of happens is just, you know, semantics. It's like, oh, yeah, we hung out here, whatever. So, finally, everything's said and done. We get our fun out of the way, and we start heading to where we're going to sleep. And it's this school. Okay. And it's this really old school, so summer's going on, and everybody's out, so it's just abandoned. And they actually have the boys sleeping in one of the science labs, and the girls are sleeping in the gym. Nothing happens there. It's just kind of a little bit of a world building thing there. And so my church group that hated me, they actually didn't. They're like, oh, he has a latex allergy. And they use that as an excuse to throw me out of their group. They're like, we don't want you. So I ended up getting picked up.
Why is Colton being tossed out of the group? He's allergic to latex.
Because basically what they did is they purposefully picked the painting job, so I couldn't do it. Yeah, so like, oh, well, he has latex. He can't join us. He. And is one of the best things to ever happen to me.
Oh, yeah. It's like, I don't want to be near you guys anyway.
It actually made this trip so much better because I ended up getting picked up by the Korean church that was there.
Oh, I know this part.
Yeah, so a really nice pastor walks up to me, and I start talking to him, and he's like, hey, come join our group. Mm-hmm. And he's on the construction section, and they're building porches, and so before we get everything, that night's kind of settling in, and anytime you do a mission trip like this, your first day and night is always like, that's the traveling day, that's your relaxing day, that's when you do the fun stuff, like going to the beach, playing games and stuff like that. We're all getting settled in, and this pastor's like, hey, we want to get to know you, you want to get to know us, let's play a card game. And we start playing.
The church pulls out Cards Against Humanity.
I kid you not. This dude pulls out like a full-on poker deck, and we start playing a game called it's called Communism. So yeah,
we started playing this game. It's called Communism. People started dying.
One guy took over. It was weird. Somebody else shanked somebody over bread. It was
what a situation. I was like, I thought I'm at church. Anyway, I'm sorry.
I can't make this up. Pastor pulls out a card game, and we start playing. And in Communism, if you've never played it before, just kind of like
I've never tried Communism. No.
It's fun. You should. Us, brother, not you.
Oh,
there is no I in team, but there's a U in. Anyway.
Anyway, back to church.
So, we're playing this card game, and if you've never played it before, essentially what it is you have, it's also called President in
the free countries, yeah.
In the free countries, yeah. Believe it or not, it's actually, so it's communism out west, and it's in the eastern part of the United States, it's commonly known as President.
Man,
I know, California,
yeah,
right?
I know exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so they, in communism, what you have is you have your leader. So you have your communist leader, you have your scum, your vice scum, and your vice president, and then everybody else is a citizen.
Okay.
And your president is the person that got rid of their cards the fastest in the first game. Everybody starts out as a citizen in the first game. And the vice president is the person that came in second. Scum is the person that came in last. Vice scum is the person that came in fifth. Say there's 6 people. Mm-hmm. And essentially what happens is you either want to be scum, vice scum, president, or vice president.
You don't want to be a citizen anymore.
Because you get screwed over.
You want to finish first, and if you don't... Oh, does that, extend the game once the first 2 finish? Yes. And it just keeps... Okay.
Yeah, so,
that's kind of interesting.
The game goes on for a few rounds until everybody's out of cards.
Okay.
Anyway, so this game can last a little while. So we're playing Communism. And which is still hilarious.
It's still hilarious, I know.
And we were finally talking for a little bit. I end up really getting to know these guys, and the pastor of the church is talking to me, and he's just like, you know what, you're welcome to come on with us. We're building porches in the morning. Let's go do it. Yeah. And so I'm hanging out with them. They're really cool, and I meet some of the nicest people. There's actually a secondary church that ended up joining our construction crew, and they were from I can't make this up, they were from Colorado, I remember.
Okay.
So we had Colorado and then a Korean church from Virginia. So
dude,
it was great.
So you're the outcast from your little trash group.
Dude, one of the guys in our group he had a chest that was the size of Mount Rushmore. Oh. He was one of those gym buffs.
He had 4 pecs? Anyway.
Pretty much, yeah. He had one ab. He was a uni-ab with 4 pecs. Anyway. He's a dog.
Well, yeah, they
that'd
really
be
were.
6. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, that was kind of the group we made up. And we ended up going, during this trip, we went to 2 houses. And we did 2 things for people. In the first house, we were doing roofing, painting, except I didn't take over the painting section, which was hilarious because that's why I was kicked out of the first group.
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
I was on tree duty.
Okay.
And so I was chopping down trees, I was cutting hedges, I was trimming branches, stuff like that.
Right.
And on this first house, one of the guys, we'll call him Josh, was up on the roof. Mm-hmm. That was the guy with big chest. Big chest is up on the roof.
That's so funny because I'm about as skinny as it gets.
The opposite of you.
The opposite of me was on the roof.
So he's up on the roof, and I'm down there trimming bushes.
This is a church establishment.
And the trees. And the tree. I was down there trimming bushes, and everybody's kind of doing their own thing. We're cracking up, and it's actually going pretty normally.
Right.
As you do. And one of the days, so what ends up happening is it was a corded tree trimmer. And I was wearing some of those chainsaw chaps. Mm-hmm. And on this first day, I accidentally went too hard on a branch that wouldn't cut. And this chainsaw, or this like little saw, went all the way around and smacked me on my quad.
Oh.
It destroyed, thankfully, so it doesn't have a lot of power to begin with. It destroyed the chaps, but it thankfully didn't go through to my leg. And that was the second day of the week.
Sounds like they accomplished their goal.
Yeah, I'm so glad I was wearing them. And that was the second day of the week. So I'm already having great luck during this trim.
This is just like, this is your first day of work.
Yeah, this is literally me almost dying.
You almost became Peg Leg Pete, man.
I almost gave myself a surprise amputation.
Yeah, that would have been great.
That would have been fun. But anyway, after that happens, I take a break, obviously.
Yeah.
So we get in and we start talking, and I'm talking to this lady of the house, and she's really, she's kind of nice. She's not super talkative, and she's just kind of staying reserved. And it's kind of chill. It's whatever. After that day ends, we just finished up the roof. I had just chopped down the last bit of branches, and I'm supposed to go back and mow the next day. Mm-hmm. And the other guys are supposed to start in the painting, and they're supposed to basically finish the porch. So the porch is built, but on this house, she needs what's called I forget what it's called, but it's basically a finishing paint that pretty much seals it from elements. Yeah. So that's what they're going to do.
I know what you're talking about. I forget what it's called, too.
So we go home, there's a 7-Eleven, we get some slushies, we do that all the good stuff. Go back, play a little basketball, and then it's off to bed. So the next morning, though, we get there. I start up the lawnmower, I get it going, I'm putting oil in it, and as I'm getting it going, suddenly I stop. I have to pee. I have to pee like the worst I've ever had to pee before. And
this is from that hour-long bus ride.
Yes, it was the second coming of the ween.
Should we compare a ween to the second coming? Wait a minute, that just clicked.
It was the golden shower of a lifetime. But anyway, so I go in there, and this lady is. I go to ask her if I can use her restroom because we're not really supposed to, but I was just like, I gotta go. Can I use it? And
who's gonna say no?
Yeah, I know, right? It was the church didn't want us to because it was kind of like, oh, well, you don't want to inconvenience them, so don't ask them to use the restroom, which is the dumbest rule ever.
I mean, if you have to go,
yeah, it's like if you have to go, you have to go. You're on a job site. You're doing stuff for them virtually for free because that's what we were doing it for.
Right. That's it's the church trip. It's like volunteer.
Yeah. They needed. It was mostly so the two people we helped were actually elderly. Right. They need help. They're not going to say no to you having to take a whiz. So she was an old hairdresser, and I'd found this out from the day before talking to her, and this comes into play in a second. So her house looks normal. There's a few mannequin heads spread around the house with wigs on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for practicing hairdressing, and what they do is they'll put these little extensions to practice hairdressing in it. What I didn't expect is I open this bathroom, and a look of horror and shock goes over my body. I turn nearly white because there is one singular mannequin head on the toilet staring at the door, and the room is wall-to-wall mirrors. I mean, not just wall-to-wall. I mean, she has everything mirrored, even the door. So once you shut the door, the only thing you see is the handle. And I
I
kid you not, I Michael Jackson moonwalked out of that thing, shut the door, and contemplated just holding it. I was just like, I don't know what portal dimension that your bathroom goes in, but I want no part of it.
I couldn't imagine taking a whiz and you look left, you look right, you look up, you look down. All you see is you looking back at you and this mannequin head.
I literally, what it was is I had to go back, so I finally decided to man it up. I sucked it up. I went in there. And when I tell you it is impossible to try to pee, no matter how hard you have to, with 1,000 of yourself looking at you.
Yeah, it's the thing of like, I need a little privacy, me, like, turn away.
I like looked down, did whatever, but I could still see me out of the corner of my eye looking at myself. And I was just like,
right.
Meanwhile, there's this mannequin head staring at me, and there's also a million of it also staring at me, and I'm just like,
I'm trying to pee.
I literally, what I did is I finally got tired of that, and I had to.
Really?
I picked up the mannequin head, moved it outside the door, shut the door, did my business, and then put it back in. I was just like, I
would have done the same thing. That thing would have met a window or a mirror, apparently.
So what was funny is whenever I walked out, I guess she knew, or because she saw the mechanic. She's like, "Yeah, sorry, I used to be." She's like, "Yeah, I did used to be a hairdresser, and my daughter was too. So I had the bathroom done so she could practice." I'm like,
I mean, I figured that's what all the mirrors are for, so you can see all the angles and
the
stuff.
thing is like there's having it done so you can practice, but then there's that.
Yeah, no, you don't
like
make that
Silent
your bathroom.
Hill.
You make it like a separate room in your house that's like, this is my hairdressing room.
It's like Resident Evil type stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you walk in and you've hit the mirror dimension, you're just like, what is going on?
That is awful. That is infinitely many of you watching your... No.
I never used the restroom in her house again.
Really?
I held it. Like, even if I had to go, I didn't care what it was. I held it until we got back to our sleeping quarters. I was just like, no.
That's an all-day thing, too.
So...
I would just become friends with the mirror versions of me. I'd just be like, what's up, man?
What's up, me?
How you doing? We're here at the same time
the
again.
voices in my head are already there. I don't need to give them a personality and like a, physical being.
Well, if you give them a physical being, then they could only be there for that physical being, and they're only there for a week. You're banishing them to the mirror realm.
Wait.
Doctor Strange in the mirror.
I was going to say, what? Did they activate my trap card? Like, what's going on with that? But,
yeah, that was from the communism game.
That's more than a trap card. That's just... so it's
That's
funny.
just communism.
That game, too, it actually does make it harder for you to, like, once you're a citizen, you can't... You pretty much can't go up or down. Because scum can take your cards or give you cards they don't want, and so can the president. So the president can force you to take cards, whether you want them or not, and get rid of his own deck and win again. So literally, if you're the bad thing is the president has to take one of the scum cards as well.
Mm-hmm. We should play this game sometime. Anyway, back on track.
Yeah,
sorry,
anyway.
I brought it back. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. But that's about the end of the second, into the third day is kind of when we finish up her house. So that third evening, we go back, we play a little hoops. We're all on the bleachers, kind of hanging out, talking, getting to know each other. And it's the different groups, all together. It's not really important. Mm-hmm. We're playing more communism. It's kind of funny that you mentioned it because we were.
Wow, yeah. Well, Lord, I'd be playing it too. That sounds great.
Yeah, I think we did like a barbecue and stuff like that. So it was a fun third day. We were done early, so we were just like, you know what, we're going to hang out and chill.
Right, because, you're working this whole week, so a little bit of chill time is...
So the fourth, fifth, and sixth day are scheduled for the next person.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go to this house, a little bit of the same. We're trimming trees. I had to cut down one tree and remove a stump. Mm-hmm. And this lady, we had to remove, her big project is she needed a porch ripped up and replaced.
Mm-hmm.
So, resealed everything. Whole 9 yards.
Wow.
So, yeah, right? So interesting.
No, I mean, like, that's a lot for...
Yeah, no, it was a lot for 3 days. We had about 8 people on that one working, so we had enough people to get it done, but it was...
But, like, y'all all had to focus
It was still snap, 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 go, go, go.
Yeah.
And I was put on porch duty because at the time I worked out a lot more, and
So
I was
you were
sitting here,
doing this.
Yeah, I was sitting here like ripping up boards by myself, like taking the carpenter hammer, ripping up the deck because we didn't have to do the supports. It was just the deck. It was just the actual flooring. So I'm ripping that up, and two of the girls in the group were staring at me, which was hilarious. They actually stopped working, and they had to tell them because I was like, this is a little off subject, but I thought it was hilarious. And I'm sitting here like ripping up one board that the pastor couldn't get, and I wonder if he was being my wingman for this one. Because he was like,
pastor's like, hey, Colton, I can't
yeah,
get
he goes,
this board.
hey, bud, I
Wink,
can't
wink,
get this.
wink.
Can you get this? And I said, sure. I grabbed the carpenter hammer. I wedged it underneath. And in one single motion, I put my hand underneath it, pushed the hammer forward, and ripped it up with my left arm. And I looked behind
With your left arm.
Yeah,
That's
not
your
even my
difference.
dominant arm.
Not even your dominant hand.
I like
That's
rip
the
it up and
difference.
I walk over all proudly. I'm just like, yeah, I just did that. And she's like, ah. Anyway.
Oh, Colton, you ripped the deck with your bare hands.
My fantasies aside. Anyway.
Yeah, let's get back to what actually happened.
What actually happened.
Yeah,
they all
yeah,
looked at me
yeah.
and threw tomatoes.
That sounds more like it. Anyway, so you're ripping up the deck.
I threw out my spleen and crapped myself. It was, you know.
Oh, wow, that's
No,
just a regular Tuesday.
No, so we're ripping up this deck, and there's not really a whole lot of exciting stuff going on. It's just, you know, ripping up a deck is ripping up a deck. You get your carpenter hammer, you're breaking boards, you're just trying to get it off. We're trying to save the boards if we can, but
If not, it's...
Yeah, it's just whatever. So we're getting all this up, and as I'm helping the pastor cut the boards again to replace them and repair them, and I ended up looking at him, and I said, without thinking about it, I looked him dead in his eyes, and I said, hey, hold my wood. And he looked at me and stopped for a second as he was measuring his pencil.
As he was measuring his wood, you told him to hold yours.
Yeah, so he was getting ready.
Okay.
He was getting ready to measure the cut in this wood, and his pencil literally, like, slowly came to a stop, and he looked over at me.
I love it when you can have a sense of humor like that, especially with someone you think you can't have that sense of humor.
Oh, he was
with.
hilarious too. He was like this. So what was funny is he was like this big Samoan dude.
Oh yeah.
So he was the leader of the Korean church, but he was like obviously Samoan, like kind of rock. And just a massive dude. Like, his bicep was like the size of my face.
Right.
Like, just a massive unit.
And I'm imagining you looking at this man, and in front of God and everybody going, hold my wood.
Me and him had a good laugh about that.
Yeah.
We were just talking, and he was just like, brother, that's wrong. And I said, I know. He was just like,
That's great, Colton. Oh my lord.
Oh, man.
That one moment alone is already better than being with your regular group.
oh, yeah. It
Like,
was
just for that one moment, it was already better.
Dude, it was fun. I'm so glad I got thrown out of my original group.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I would have been too.
this last day, we ended up getting to the 5th day. And the 5th day, we're finishing everything up, we're wrapping it up. And the 6th day, we're doing, like, the ceremony. We're all, like, having a big dinner. And, but before this, on the 5th day, we wrap everything up. And the owner of this house is the sweetest old lady I've ever met. But she could talk your ear off.
Yeah.
She could talk the ear off of a monk. She could make Buddha swear. With how much I felt like I was being held hostage by kindness.
Yeah. And then when it's by kindness like that, it's like, I can't leave.
She was just like overly nice, and I didn't want to leave her because she was like, she's going on.
Obviously, like, lonely, right?
Yeah. She,
Yeah, you can't leave anyone like that.
I'm not gonna get off on her, get off too much on her story, but long story short, she was like, yeah, my son and my daughter don't visit me anymore. I've been here alone for the past 20 years.
Oh my lord.
The only, she was lucky enough that her husband made a lot of money, so she never had to work. But she also never worked a job in her life, and she never had to, so she was very lucky. And she was just like, the reason her house had gotten in such disrepair is her son was basically like, no, do it yourself.
And she couldn't do it herself.
Yeah. Which was really trashy of him to do.
Yeah,
but
that's
it was
awful.
Just like, she talked to me, I swear to you, for 3 straight hours about her life story, and it all started because like she was telling me about the car and how she got it in her driveway, and like how her and her husband met, and it was really sweet.
That is sweet. Yeah.
I was just like, I didn't mind talking to her whatsoever, and
she, you know that 3 hours is like, you look back after a week and you go, that 3 hours really wasn't much, but to her, No, that meant the world.
Yeah, I go back to that. I'm sitting there like, oh yeah, that felt like 10 minutes of like that entire time she was just like, I'm so thankful. Thank you guys. It means a lot to me. And yeah,
that's why you do what you do.
Yeah, pretty much. That was why we were there doing it. And
that's exactly it. That right there.
I just wanted. It's a little off subject, but I wanted to mention that because she was honest. Like she was honestly the best one we had that week. The barber was okay. She was nice, but she just was like, "Oh, thanks, bye." And then that was just unexpected to get like trapped. Which I say trapped, but it's
to run into the
one you
head
don't
in the bathroom to get head in the bathroom.
Yeah, it wasn't head in the bathroom. It was like Silence of the Lambs in the bathroom. No, so. Yeah, we get to this final day, and during that porch thing actually was funny. During this final ceremony, when we're all talking, we're all saying our goodbyes, that one girl that I told you was watching me was ripping the boards of the porch up. She like never gave me her number. She never tried to ask me out or anything or to do anything. And
that's how it goes.
She ran up to me and gave me like the biggest, longest hug. Like, I swear it lasted for like 3 minutes, and I was just like, are you gonna do something, or are you just gonna, like, run away?
It's like, what's happening? Like,
well, I'm glad she didn't, because this goes into the next story, but I did have somebody that I was seeing at the time, so,
well,
it was a very,
that's one of those, you're not embracing
like,
that hug, that's one of those where it's just like, why is this woman hanging on to me?
So in reality, it's kind of like, oh, this is nice, I'm dating somebody, don't ask me out, she didn't know that.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can't blame her for not knowing, but that is kind of weird, though, to just run up out of nowhere and just...
She obviously did actually have a crush on me.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was probably her, like, I'm not going to ask him out, but this is my final hurrah.
Yeah, it's pretty much
like, I'm going to cling to you until you say something.
Listen, I don't care how, like, bad my relationship is, and that one was a pretty bad one. I can't just sit there and, like, do that to somebody. I would feel terrible.
That is your conscience on the line right there, buddy.
Which, and I'll talk about this because this goes into the second. This is actually a really good transition for the next story. So the girl at the time I was interested in seeing, we had talked for a while. And we had the relationship wasn't like a relationship. It was kind of like one of those things we were hanging out. We're still in the butterfly stage, like still talking, getting to know each other. Like,
okay, so you were in the beginning stages of this relationship.
Yeah, the very, very beginning, like a month. Like
plus, this is a high school relationship.
Yeah, so it wasn't really a relationship,
right?
But at the time, like it feels like one.
It feels like you're so in love.
So that kind of leads into the second one.
Hey, Editor Josh here. So we need to cut this episode here because the final recording ended up being about an hour and a half long. So we're actually just going to make this into a part 1 and a part 2. So be sure to tune in next week when we release part 2 of Colton's month-long extravaganza.
Thank you guys for accepting the moments with us today. I've been your host, Colton.
And I've been your host, Josh. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.